Welcome back. It's already Tuesday again. We're going to check out our vendors that change on Tuesdays, starting with the Telvar Merchant in Imperial City Sewers. First up, we have Amulet of Akatosh's Law, which we already have. Also have the ring down here. Next, we have Reaper's March treasure maps. Again, these aren't worth... Well, it's normally 6,000 Telvar. Because of Zeal of Zenithar, they are on discount, so 5,400 Telvar. Reaper's March brings us Cinch's Bite, Skooma Smuggler, and Soulshine, as well as a chance for the leads for Ancestral High Elf Legs and Shields motif chapters, but not worth 5,400 Telvar, even with a discount. These are much cheaper through traders. Our leads this week, we have Duotone Engraved Band. This is part of Monomyth Reforged and drops from the dungeon Depths of Malatar. So being a dungeon lead, I think these are always a little bit more worthwhile than other ones, and right now it's on sale for 22,500 Telvar. Next, we have Golden Saint Cameo, part of the Saint and the Seducer mythic. This one drops from the Alakir World Boss Lesser Circle. I love Saint and the Seducer for my Thief, and if you recall, July 8th with Season 1, we are getting a Thieves Guild update, so this one might be worth grabbing if you don't have this mythic yet. All right, and then we also have Necklace and Ring of Meritorious Service. Our scripts this week, we have Bound Affix Script Mangle. Adds Mangle, a debuff reducing max health. Bound Focus Script Poison Damage, adds poison damage. Bound Focus Script Restore Resources, which adds resource restoration. And Bound Signature Script Knight's Valor, adds improved use of bash or blocking. And finally, we have Fragment of the Storm. This is one of 6 pieces of the Force Shock Wild Burn skill style. This one drops from the final boss of Tempest Island. Remember, this is a guaranteed drop. Unlike leads or anything else, this one is guaranteed. So if you feel comfortable going into Tempest Island, even in normal, it will drop for you off the final boss. If not, it's here for 22,500 Telvar on sale due to Zeal of Zenithar. All right, let's head over to the Scholarium. We've made our way to the Scholarium.
Scripts and grimoire.
First up, we have Bound Affix Script Intellect and Endurance. Adds Intellect and Endurance, buffs increasing Magicka and Stamina recovery. Bound Focus Script Pull, adds a pull. Bound Signature Script Anchorite's Potency, adds a Consumed Soul Gem to grant ultimate effect. And looks like that's it. And remember, of course, these are also on sale since they are a vendor selling stuff for gold. We've made our way to Infinite Archive. Let's see what Filer Ul has. Now remember, the Zeal of Zenithar discount is 10%, but it is not off things you would spend Archival Fortunes for. So unfortunately, no savings with Filer Ul, only at the other 2 vendors. But we are starting off with Hrothgar treasure maps, not worth 2,000 Archival Fortunes. But Hrothgar brings us Briarheart, Mark of the Pariah, and Trinamax Valor, as well as a chance for 1 of 4 book furnishings if that character already has the eidetic memory for those books. If you're not sure how that works, check out the link in the description. Next up, we have Beverages for the Bereaved, which is a nice open book. It is open at kind of a weird angle, so sometimes in housing it is difficult to work with. But this book drops in Infinite Archive, and the eidetic memory is out of Telvanni Peninsula. Our second book this week is Boethia and Her Avatars. This one drops out of Scrivener's Hall, and the eidetic memory comes from Eastmarch. You'll need to pick up the quest, The Siege of Cradle Crush, in order to get into the town of Cradle Crush to get that book. But these are both available if you've read the book. If you prefer to not go through all that trouble, you can read it in somebody else's house. My guild halls are open on both PCNA and PCEU, and I am listed under the Browse tab, not recommended. That's the default is recommended. Make sure you're under Browse. Next up, we have Encratis's Behemoth Mask style page. This is a very cool mask. This one drops from Black Drake Villa during whatever short period they deem appropriate for us to be able to farm this mask. But the drop rate on these masks are pretty terrible. You have a higher chance of getting one if you've completed the hard mode of Black Drake Villa, which is one of the easier hard modes as DLC dungeons go. but then the drop rate's still terrible. So I think this is a great use of your archival fortunes, but if you're not into fashion, maybe not. All right, next up is companion equipment, heavy armor. I typically do not recommend getting companion equipment from Filer Ull. They are bound when you get them this way. You're at the mercy of RNG as to which trait you get, so I say skip this one. Our first plan this week is Design Alinor Amphora Slender, running 22 to 45k on PCNA. It's a beautiful piece. On PCEU, this runs about 48,000 to 150,000, averaging closer to 75, 80,000. But this is a pretty good buy this week. Next, we have the lead for Moonstone Ring Bearing. This is one of the pieces for Monomyth Reforged. This is our second lead this week for Monomyth Reforged. And this one drops off of the Reaper's March Delve Jode's Light. So not horrible to get, but being able to get 2 out of 5 leads for Monomyth Reforged this week is pretty neat. Our second lead is Runic Legs. This is one of 3 pieces of the Trifold Mirror of Alternatives, which is a multi-part furnishing. This lead drops from the Clockwork City Delve Halls of Regulation. Next up, we have Mummified Alfiq parts for 3,000 archival fortunes each. You need 10 of these to create the Grizzly Mummy Tabby. You can farm these pieces in Northern Elsewhere in Rim and Necropolis Public Dungeon, or you can buy them from traders. On PCNA, they run 2,000 to 2,500 gold a piece. This isn't awful at 3,000 archival fortunes, but I may not want to buy all of them this way. So next up, we have Addon Dark Elf Rug Striated. This runs 10,000 to 2,500 on PCNA. On PCEU, though, there are no listings. And our third and final plan this week is Praxis Necrom Wall Tall Ornate, which runs 661k to 826k on PCNA with 15 listings. But again, I could not find any listings on PCEU. So this one might be worth getting. Our scripts this week, we have Bound Affix Script Enervation adds Enervation, a debuff reducing critical damage. Bound Focus Script Dispel adds a Dispel. Bound Focus Script Trauma adds Healing Absorption. And Bound Signature Script Growing Impact adds enhanced buff and debuff application. Next, we have Delver's Druid Deck Fragment, which is part of the Tales of Tribute deck Druid King. This one is found occasionally in Delves on Galen. So I don't think this one's particularly difficult. I think most of us who have been around for a while probably already have it, but it's here for 3,000 archival fortunes if you need it. And finally, we have Disgusting Spoils. Consume 25 Disgusting Spoils to unlock the Scheming Skeever's achievement and the Malographic Skeever pet. If you were to buy them all this way, this would be really expensive. These are guaranteed just by doing dailies in Infinite Archive, as well as you usually get a random one here and there as you run. So I personally prefer to get these just by running Infinite Archive. If you have 75,000 archival fortunes, you've probably run a lot of Infinite Archive anyway. All right, speaking of running Infinite Archive, what we're going to do next is run some Infinite Archive ourselves, and we're going to see what gear is dropping this week, because that also changes on Tuesday. We just ran a couple arcs of Infinite Archive, and this week we have gear dropping from Stonefalls. That includes Shadow of the Red Mountain, Shock Exoskeleton, and Silks of the Sun, as well as from Blackwood. Remember, this will only work if you have the Blackwood chapter or ESO Plus. If you do, you'll get gear from Blackwood, which is Bog Raider, Deadlands Assassin, and Frostbite. Frostbite also can break down and possibly give you some Ivory Brigade clasps. On PCNA, those run about 5,000 to 6,000 gold apiece. On PCU, it looks like about 3,000 to 4,000. So not terrible if you need an extra excuse to run this week. All right, that's going to do it for this week. We'll see you in the next one.